Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Future and Metro Boomin, We Still Don't Trust You. I've said a number of times that it's better to release one truly great album than split it into two that are merely pretty good. Although with Future indulging his Hendrix R&B side in contrast with the self-titled back in 2017, it wasn't exactly surprising that the buzz around this was following in the same pattern. But that initial plan probably did not account for the commercial staying power that We Don't Trust You has had, along with its popularity, the firestorm of beef that's erupted around him, and that Drake was probably gonna fire back. Hell, he already has, at least once. So playing the Hendrix card not only felt like wrong time for this, he also packaged this with 7 more songs that lean on trap to satiate those who are coming back now for the fight and fight only. Very obviously recorded rough after the beat ignited for folks to jump in. And given that Future albums already run long, and I'm kinda lukewarm on his R&B side, I didn't review Hendrix outside of the few songs that charted on Billboard Breakdown. Revisiting it now, I get its appeal. I've come around more to Future's warbling delivery, but it's never been my favorite lane for him. He's got weaker highs there, and the intensity can be really spotty. Yeah, I had a sinking feeling about this. So with all that in mind, okay, let's deal with the bonus and the structural issues right out of the gate. Those songs were very clearly tacked on at the last minute to play into the intensity of that last album, probably recorded after We Don't Trust You as well, and Future sounds pretty alive and hungry over considerably louder and much rougher production. I'm not going to give the A$AP Rocky verse much attention outside of the likelihood that Drake will ignore it and him into dust. Lil Baby verse didn't do much for me either. But it also reminds me of, and this isn't really a new observation, but what do you know, speak of the devil, when Drake tacked on Jimmy Cooks to Honestly Nevermind. When you've got a softer, more introspective tone where more production risks will manifest, but you also want to ensure you've got a chart-crossing banger, it doesn't make sense because Future did Hendrix before and he didn't really care about the chart crossover. What's worse is that it's such a jarring tonal shift after such an exhaustingly long album, where it feels like Metro Boomin was drawing out every groove without more in the way of change-ups or dramatic crescendos, that by the time you get to the set of grimy, mixtape quality trap bangers, you just have some ear fatigue. You want to bow out. You don't need that, because that's been a problem with Future for years now. When he doesn't vary his content, overlong songs and albums work against him, especially as the drug-running, shallow hedonism and relationship melodrama start really testing my patience. Especially as I don't normally find the introspection that we get all that interesting or emotionally evocative. So with all that being established, and J. Cole miscalculating yet again to leave his verse on red leather, which only confirms how unready he was for any conflict, despite actually being a pretty good verse alongside Future just going way too long to not say that much, I do think there are songs worth considering from actually both sides of this. For one, Metro Boomin is considerably more experimental across this album, pulling in more throwback synth pop and vintage R&B sample flips, like the eerie gospel flip on Beat It, or the Ty Dolla $ign assist on Gracious, and especially when the Weeknd shows up for either backing vocals or to take more of the spotlight, he's a lot more here, like with the gentle bounce of the title track, the Isley Brothers flip on All to Myself with some nice flashy synth work on the outro, or the gothic Always My Fault. Yes, I know, it's borderline Riverdale core. It works for me. I like that gothic side coming from the Weeknd. Hell, even among some of the more conventional trap cuts, I actually think I like Future's flip of Drake's flow of Feel No Way on This Sunday more than I like Drake's. The drowned out Brownstone sample on Love Bad Bitches is way catchier than it had any right to be, and I somehow bought into the chilly flexing of Came to the Party and the flagrant guitar wailing all over Mile High Memories despite some of the flagrance of the content, and the creeping danger of Crazy Clientele, my favorite from the back bonus disc. I mean, it's certainly better than the overmixed mess of Right For You or that dud of a horny interlude on Amazing, and this album is plenty horny. But you know what, for what it's worth, you can tell that past Future's opening round of flexing, that's always kind of tedious, there's a weariness in his liquor-soaked lifestyle where he's got something of a deeper yearning for maybe one woman to trust, maybe even settle down, show a bit more vulnerability, move past the emotional games. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you sign that many child support checks after so much reckless sex without condoms and birth control. It's not quite reckoning with consequences so much as just taking stock of his life. And that makes sense. he's 40. I mean, it's the one element I like in J. Cole's verse, and probably the reason Cole didn't take it off. It's the question of what will ultimately give both men some internal peace, if anything at all, and that's an interesting question for Future. But as a whole, look, this does not reach the best heights if we don't trust you, if only on the basis of being way too goddamn long and sloppily sequenced to have any sense of momentum, but it also feels built for the insular audience who already is bought into this palette of Future's hedonism. And while I do hear some growth between the lines, and I get more of its appeal if you get into that nasty headspace and come around on Future's wailing, there is an intensity and tighter focus I still think's been lost in the sauce. I think this is best for the die-hard Future R&B hive, a subset of a subset. Outside of them, it's a much tougher sell, unless you just go for the last 7 tracks if you want some decent, but not exactly excellent trap bangers. And for me, you know what, I'm a little shocked to say this, but I do think there is enough to go digging. There are absolutely problems. This is not better than We Don't Trust You, but it is decent. I think if you want to go take a look, give it a shot. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, and subscribe, especially for the Future Hive. I know I'm probably the last person to be this positive on Future, and even then it's not saying much, but hey, I actually found more to like in the back half here than I expected I would, especially from some of the R&B cuts. There's some decent songs there that I actually really liked. Yeah, apologies if this review comes across a little bit curt. This is about the 4th or 5th time I'm filming this, and between this room being about 80 degrees right now because the AC's not turned on yet in my building, and having to film because the autofocus has gone to kaput, it is what it is. Getting through it. Beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in helping support the channel, get albums on my schedule, argue with me on my Discord, link to my Patreon is right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times, I understand, the options available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.